Hey everyone, my friend Draven was a part of a video club at his college. He volunteered to be a part of a short film titled The Elevator. He has a YouTube channel of his own, Dravids, where he writes, directs, and edits videos on his own for the most part. Very similar to how my channel is run, except traditional filming methods like scripts and multiple takes are used. Essentially, his content is less garbage than mine. Anyway, my point for saying all of this is because Draven makes quality short films and understands, at least on a basic level, what makes a video good. He volunteered to be an actor in this short film, nothing more, nothing less. He was not involved with directing, writing, or even editing, so I don't want you to get a false sense of what Draven is capable of. The Elevator makes Draven look bad. It is a short film worthy of criticism. One would think that a video made by college students in a video club would be mediocre at worst. The Elevator strives to break that boundary, to be one of the worst short films I have ever seen. Already, this opening shot is abysmal. What am I supposed to be looking at? The building is taking up 3/4 of the shot, but the camera's exposure is adjusted to the sky. It's like I'm supposed to take note that it's a nice day out, but the camera only stays in the clouds for a total of 4 seconds before the auto exposure adjusts to the building and the shot pans down. And no, it's not on a tripod. It's a handheld pan, so it's as shaky as my grandmother on Adderall as the camera slowly earthquakes our main character into frame. This is Draven, if you couldn't already tell from his cute face. His character's name is Pete, and Pete is a pizza delivery boy delivering a pizza to a customer, but I will get back to that. Unfortunately for Draven, the editor decided to pick the worst possible take of this scene for the final product. The camera pans in on him appearing to do some sort of weird leg stretch, at least on first glance. My guess is that Draven was told to look confused as his character is not sure where to deliver the pizza. So perhaps his character was trying to peek into the building but not be a creep. Also, what's with the extremely loud cricket chirping? It looks like it's the middle of the day, and I realize that crickets can chirp during the day, but it seems to me it was added in during editing. Wait! Did you see that? No, not the awful title drop-in that is also written using the impact font. The jump cut. Just look. The scene totally jumps from one location to another and uses the title to disguise it. Also, can we talk about that title drop-in for just a minute? Firstly, impact. That was the best font you could think of. The meme font. And the motion of the title when it comes in is just so cringy. Why did the title even have to be put in? It further reinforces some problems that I'll address later. Oh my god. I just realized something. Is this a clever bit of editing? Or was it a shitty cover-up to show yet another take of the same scene but from a different spot? My wager is for the latter, but only because they jump to another scene that is even closer and shows exactly the same thing. Just look! Okay, yeah, see? Okay, so I didn't realize that I also get to experience the bores of being a pizza delivery boy with waiting around until the customer comes to get the pizza. We get it. Pete is becoming impatient. Please move on. Pete's urge to dial the customer actually stopped the crickets chirping, and I think that's pretty cool because it answers my question from earlier. However, it's actually pretty unclear if Pete answered the phone or if he called the customer because we don't even get to hear a dial tone. Or anything from the phone for that matter. According to Draven, they were supposed to put the other end of the conversation in this scene, but they just didn't. So there's long pauses while you try to decipher what the customer said based on Pete's words and actions.
Hi sir, I'm calling to confirm where you want your pizza picked up.
Where you want your pizza picked up? I'm sorry, Pete. You already have the pizza. You're actually delivering it. I don't know if Draven flubbed his line and no one in the entire editing process noticed, or if there was a massive disconnect between the writers and the director in which Pete was actually supposed to pick up a pizza.
My name's Pete, sir. I'm right outside the building.
Why did this guy even ask for Pete's name? There's a plot twist later that involves this guy where he has reason to be skeptical of people, but in my opinion, Knowing the name of the person doesn't help me to know whether or not they are my pizza deliverer. And yes, I realize some pizza places tell you the name of your deliverer ahead of time, but you can't convince me that Universal Pizza is the kind of place that would do that. They don't even have a uniform with their logo or name tags for their employees.
Oh, okay. Is there something wrong with the elevator? Yes, sir. Thank you.
So the customer tells Pete to come to room 303 and probably says something about the elevator, and one would assume that it's broken since Pete writes "used stairs" on his little sticky note. However, Pete crosses that off shortly after for some reason. Also keep in mind the phone number written on the sticky note that is clearly labeled customer phone pound, or as the rest of the world knows it, customer phone hashtag. Pete thanks the man for some reason and then magically teleports his hand to the phone and hangs up. Some other magic shit happens because suddenly there is a shoe in the background. Keep this shoe in mind, it's important. So Pete walks in the building and once again they spend way too much time on a scene. They wait for the soft closed door to completely close, only for the interior shot to show Pete open what's supposed to be the same door. Except it's hinged from the wrong side, so this isn't the same door and the continuity is ruined. One could argue that Pete walked down a corridor to a different door and opened it. The only problem with that is I can see the same bricks from the outside of the building right there. Not to mention the natural light that pours in when he opens the door. Yeah, this is super nitpicky because there probably wasn't an elevator by the original door, but it's so damn confusing because of the way it was edited.
Going up.
There's nothing really wrong with this scene except that Draven is making a really silly face while he presses the elevator buttons. Again, so many reshoots and this was the one that they picked for the final product. Draven is a great actor in my extremely biased opinion, but the makers of this film wanted to make sure that no one could see that. Also, they spend a little bit too much time waiting for the elevator doors to close. So, when Pete gets off the elevator, you can clearly see that it is stopped at level 4. They poorly tried to trick you by only showing the floor numbers go up to 3, but then made the mistake of having the floor number in the shot. Pete also did write 303 on his notepad, but doesn't seem to realize that the elevator has gone past floor 3 until he reads the sign outside the elevator. I'm assuming this Pete character has never been in a hotel or office building or any building that has rooms whose numbers are associated with the floor that they're on. Well, remember how there was that thing where the customer maybe said something about the elevator that made Pete question it and write down "used stairs," but then Pete crossed it out because maybe the customer retracted his statement about the elevator? Yeah, me too. Spoilers, the elevator is all sorts of broken from what can be observed. So alternatively now, we can assume that Pete actually pressed the 3, but then didn't notice when the elevator just kept going. Pete finally realizes that he's on the wrong floor, and the camera tries to remind the audience of this by moving towards the sticky note, but again, the camera is set to the wrong exposure and you can't read diddly squat. So somebody doesn't know how to mix the audio, and it's clear that they added this music but only looked at the waveform and didn't actually listen to it. They must have not seen anything in the waveform and boosted the audio to 500% until they saw something. So they actually boosted the audio again to mimic what Pete would hear if he got closer? It's just my assumption, but it's not even muffled, and it's such a sudden jump in volume that even my assumption is a stretch. So yeah, why did Pete even come over here? It's obviously not room 303 or the stairs, but I guess he just wanted to check it out. This room holds no purpose for the plot, at least not obviously, and is not brought up again. Once again, they spend way too much time on this shot, and I think it was supposed to be cut off earlier because the camera starts moving all weird at the end, like somebody tried to stop the recording. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? I had my volume turned all the way down because you lost my trust 20 seconds ago. Here, let me fix that. Minimal words are exchanged between these people, and that's fine. It leaves some mystery to the strange-looking characters they are. But this would have been a great time for Pete to ask for directions to room 303, but the writers forgot that they're writing actual people. Also, it totally sounds like the camera guy let out a burp. You can hear him breathe out after he does it. So many reshoots. I don't know whose bright idea it was to boost the audio of the stairwell scene, but they are definitely trying to destroy my eardrums. Thankfully, my audio was already lowered when the phone rang because that was also loud as all hell. Also, Pete, the dumbass, decides to walk past floor 3 for some reason. What a goofball. I'm sorry, what's that number? Hey, wait a minute. That's the customer's number on the sticky note. Oh, what? Pete? You just hung up on the customer. Maybe he was gonna meet you halfway or something. It's a way to get a bad review, Pete. Also, I'm told this is the director's actual cell number. What a great idea, how resourceful. Heyo, it's this film's greatest enemy, overexposure. I honestly wish that they had left the auto adjustment turned on because this scene is so blinding. And again, waiting for the soft closed door to close, except it doesn't quite make it all the way this time. And of course, they had Pete open and walk out the same exact door that almost just closed. I can tell it's the same door because you can see how overexposed everything is by the natural light. So Pete is surprised to see that he's actually on floor 2 despite flying past floor 3 on the stairwell. And instead of going back to the stairwell, he tries for the elevator again.
Hey, bud, you alright? Okay.
So, this is a really strange shot. Pete gets spooked by something, and it's not until the camera pans down that we actually get to see what the problem is. It's not nearly as shocking as it could have been. Hold the phone. Look at those shoes. Those New Balance shoes are cute on you, Draven. Is it getting hot in here? Oh yeah, and those shoes too. This random dude in the elevator also magically appeared outside before, and I guess he's sleeping on the elevator now, so that's cool, I guess. Anyway, Draven puts his heart and soul into this character, and Pete is really concerned for the guy, for like 4 seconds. And then the writers must have thought it was a normal human reaction to just ignore an unresponsive person on an elevator, so Draven once again looks like a buffoon for not really caring what the problem is. That, or Pete is a heartless human. Also, he must have had really poor direction. He kicks the guy, that doesn't work. So his next move is waving his hands in front of him. No, sorry Pete, the guy has his eyes closed, he can't see you. Once again, the glory of all takes shines through because Draven presses the open door button and the door starts opening and the editors thought that was okay. I think they want to keep us in limbo about which buttons Pete is actually pressing when the door closes. However, they cut to the door opening from the outside, which is extremely jarring. It looks like it lines up with Pete pressing the open door button, But if you read the sign on the door frame, you can clearly see that we've magically gone up 2 floors. It almost looks like the elevator ride was instant. It's just so amazing to me that they wanted to show everything else that happened in real time, but for some reason they either never shot the elevator ride scene here, or felt that it was unnecessary. Even if they repurposed the other elevator ride scene here, it would have made much more sense. Assuming that Pete actually rode the elevator for more than a millisecond and it isn't magic, he failed to realize that the elevator passed floor 3 again and is only surprised by the 4th floor sign that has less duct tape on it now, but I'll get back to that. As I'm told, this shot of Draven is all screwy. Pete is supposed to be angry that he's made it to floor 4 once again, but the editors left the shot for too long, so Draven started smiling, which once again makes him look like a shitty actor. Keep in mind that there were many takes of everything, and this was the best one in the editor's eye, so Pete ends up looking like a psychopath. This is one of the most annoying scenes ever. Pete checks the pizza to see if it's cold by touching the top of it with his bare hands. Obviously, he couldn't get the same information by touching the bottom, which he's already doing. Maybe the neurons in his right hand are fried and he can't feel heat. I'm just making this up because this shit makes no sense. He determines it's disgustingly cold, closes the lid, and moves towards the trash can. Another great jump cut to a different shot happens, and Pete opens the pizza lid again and tosses the whole pizza in the trash. All because he couldn't find the drop-off location and it got cold. I'm becoming more and more convinced that the writers of this short film are actually lizards that don't realize that any pizza boy ever would never do that. Or shit, maybe you're supposed to play this in reverse so that he actually picks up the pizza like he said he would at the beginning.
Hi, sir. I'm calling to confirm where you want your pizza picked up.
Maybe I'm onto something. Or maybe this whole plotline is stupid. I feel like I'm stupid at this point.
Going down.
Hey, close the door.
Pete hops back on the old dead guy elevator, and those mysterious goons from before show up, and they're in a big hurry.
Hey, close the door.
Bro, the door wasn't even close to closing. You had plenty of time. Also, the guy wearing the Rode microphone shirt lost his sunglasses.
Oh, sorry.
It's funny because Pete says sorry, but he clearly knows how to press the open door button. What a trickster.
Oh, sorry.
Going down.
Man, this guy must have had too much to drink.
Yeah. What floor do you guys want?
1 is fine.
Yes, this dead man has had far too much to drink. Also, what floor were you looking to get to? Also, the mic, or whatever, at the top of the shot is cool. I wonder if it's a Rode microphone and maybe this is an advertisement, and I'm just feeding into the marketing by making this analysis.
Look, I wanted to explain all of this in person, but obviously you can't follow my simple instructions. I'm going to be murdered tonight, and the plan is you're going to be my witness. If they've gotten to me before you, I'm dead. Oh crap. Yep, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm very, very dead.
Pete's phone magically changes hands, and Pete's inner monologue starts saying shit. Oh wait, actually that's a voicemail. There was no way that they could have added some distortion to make it sound like it was coming from the phone though, so you have to figure that out through words that it's saying. Also, this guy, whoever he is that called Pete, seems to be really in distress.
Oh crap. Yep, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm very, very dead.
Oh shit, wait! Pete redials the voicemail, and it's the number from the sticky note that tried calling him earlier that he declined for some stupid reason. That man was the customer speaking. We could have been introduced to this voice earlier, but they just assumed that we'd know who it was purely based on the shitty acting. It's a shame that Pete won't be able to reach that guy because that same exact number is also calling the dead guy. What unfortunate timing, Pete. That sucks. Hopefully the dead guy declines the call so that Pete can try to call the number again. Okay, so what is the customer's problem? He couldn't tell Pete about this earlier? Or maybe he did, but there's no way we could have known that because of some choice editing by the makers of this film. Also, it was so convenient that Pete decided not to answer earlier. Yeah, so that goon with the bat got angry that Pete was using his phone in the elevator, so he hit him. That's my only logical explanation. There's no way the goons knew that Pete was onto them. As far as they know, Pete just thinks the dude is sleeping or something. Actually, maybe everyone heard that voicemail. That would give the goons more of a reason to want to kill Pete. I honestly have no idea. But in all seriousness, what a great idea to use the same number for all the phones so it's confusing as hell for the audience. That's the end, and what a disaster of a short film, but I'm not totally done. I looked at some things here a little too logically. We have to look at what was supposed to be interpreted for a minute because the plot goes batshit crazy. Let's go back to when Pete first gets on the elevator. Presumably he presses 3 because we assume Pete is a logical human. The camera shows the numbers tick up to 3 and it cuts to a different shot. We are supposed to assume that the elevator is at floor 3 despite the obvious digital red 4 on the elevator. Notice the duct tape on the 4th floor sign. Now think back for a second. Yeah, that's supposed to be fake, like a fake sign. Like, someone put the 4th floor sign in front of the 3rd floor sign with duct tape. This confuses Pete, and he sees the loud party room, presumably where the pizza was actually supposed to go. And apparently, he didn't see any 303 signs unless the goons also put fake 4th floor signs in front of these too. Pete goes down only one flight of stairs to what he believes is the 3rd floor, despite the fact that the cinematography says otherwise. We are to assume Pete is smart, and he only goes down one flight. So, he was on the 3rd floor that had a fake 4th floor sign, and he goes down one flight to be only further confused to find that he's on the 2nd floor now. Okay, so he goes back to the elevator, right? He takes the elevator to the actual 4th floor now. Why? I have no logical idea. Pete pressed the 4 for some reason. You can tell it's the actual 4th floor because there's no duct tape on the sign this time. There isn't a fake sign this time. Maybe we're supposed to go hog wild and assume that Pete assumes that some hooligans changed the buttons around in the elevator and the 4th and the 3rd are swapped, but that still doesn't explain the conversation we never heard on the phone at the beginning. Why was the elevator ever mentioned? There's nothing wrong with the elevator or the stairs. Just some hooligans put a fake 4th floor sign in front of the 3rd floor sign, and Pete Dingus was too dumb to realize that. Why was the film even called The Elevator? It causes so much more confusion to the audience because nothing appears to be wrong with the elevator, and Pete just looks like an idiot. It should be called A Couple of Goons Move Some Signs and a Pizza Guy Gets Confused. So, assuming that the goons put up the fake sign, if we go back to when Pete first meets them, we can assume that the goons are going to remove the fake 4th floor sign to possibly put it back on the 4th floor? But why did the goons put the sign there in the first place? There was no way that they had any idea Pete was coming. Even this plot, which makes slightly more sense, is completely unbelievable. Every action that is made in this film has to be reinforced by pure assumption from the audience. Nothing is set in stone, and it cannot be argued as an artistic choice. Any assumption about what is going on in the movie Inception is based on logic that has been set in stone by the writing and the cinematography. This film doesn't offer any of that because there is such a disconnect between what the story is supposed to be and what is actually shown to the audience. The only reason I found out about this second plot was by creating this critical analysis. And I've been thinking, why is there such a disconnect? Why have I created 2 plots to analyze? I think I have an answer. The writer and the director must not have been the same person. And even with that, they must have not ever spoken to one another. Bear with me here. We are supposed to hear a conversation on the phone that we never do that could have answered so many questions. Pete is supposed to go to the 3rd floor with the elevator and be confused by the fake 4th floor sign, but the film clearly shows him traveling to the 4th. He's supposed to go down a flight of stairs, but it ends up looking like he goes down 2 based on the editing. Although there is an obvious issue there, the original writing doesn't make any sense anyway. Why did Pete use the elevator again and obviously press the 4th floor button? He could have just seen that the stairs had 4 doors, one for each set of stairs. He could have gone to the 3rd one up. But again, no one is written like a human, so this story is confusing as all hell, even if you look past the poor editing and the cinematography. He throws away a whole pizza, for God's sakes. God, this film is such a gosh dang disaster, and I'm done. I'm so done. There's no saving this film. I tried to even look at it from the perspective of the makers, but I still can't make any logical sense out of it. Everything, from the cinematography, the directing, the writing, the editing, it's all terrible. Doesn't make any sense. Draven did great. Everything else sucked. Goodbye.
Fuck.